First contact gone wrong. Supreme Commander Vextol of the Meridian Alliance stood before the tactical display, his crystalline appendages clicking with irritation. The human vessel, if it could even be called that, dwarfed his entire patrol fleet. His subordinates had initially dismissed it as a sensor malfunction when they detected an object nearly 30 kilometers in length approaching the Arcturus checkpoint. "Status report," he demanded, all four of his eyes fixed on the massive signature. "Sir, the vessel is maintaining position at the edge of our sensor range," First Officer Karen reported. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies in multiple languages. Translation matrix is working through it now." Vextol's crystalline form shifted colors from its usual deep blue to an agitated purple. First contact scenarios were precisely why the Meridian Alliance maintained checkpoints at major gravitational convergence points, but nothing in his centuries of service had prepared him for this. The translation matrix chimed. "Ready for playback, Commander. Proceed." A calm human voice filled the command center. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Federation vessel Prometheus. We come in peace and seek diplomatic contact. Please respond." Vextol scoffed. Peace. The vessel before him carried enough energy signatures to power a small star. Its hull was dotted with what could only be weapon emplacements, and the waves of smaller signatures surrounding it suggested spacecraft of varying sizes, hundreds of them. "Sir," Karen interrupted his thoughts, "analysis confirms the presence of approximately 2,000 smaller craft housed within or around the vessel. Energy readings suggest antimatter containment systems, and something our sensors can't quite identify." "A deception," Vextol declared. "No species achieves this level of technology without being known to the Alliance. This is clearly a fabrication meant to intimidate us." His crystalline form hardened with resolve. "Prepare to fire a warning shot. Let's see how real this apparition is." "Sir, I must object." Karen's normally stoic voice carried an edge of concern. "Protocol dictates. Protocol assumes we're dealing with a real spacecraft, not an obvious holographic projection meant to test our resolve." "Fire the warning shot." Grazed their port side. The patrol fleet's flagship, Heart of Dawn, powered up its main particle cannon. The shot was precisely calculated to miss by meters, enough to demonstrate their capability without causing harm. The human vessel didn't move. It didn't need to. The particle beam struck something invisible several kilometers from the vessel's hull and dissipated harmlessly. The space around the Prometheus shimmed briefly, revealing layers of overlapping energy fields before they faded back to transparency. "Impossible," Vextol whispered. The human voice returned, noticeably cooler this time. "This is Captain Chen. Your aggressive action has been noted. We will defend ourselves if necessary, but we continue to seek peaceful contact. Be advised that our defensive capabilities far exceed what you have witnessed. Please respond diplomatically within the next 30 minutes, or we will be forced to consider alternative approaches to establishing relations with your civilization." Before Vextol could respond, Karen's voice rose in alarm. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy spikes throughout their vessel. Multiple launch bays are opening. They're deploying something." The tactical display bloomed with new signatures as objects began emerging from the Prometheus. Not the fighter craft they had detected earlier, but something else. Each one was nearly the size of Vextol's flagship. "Analysis," he demanded. "Sir, they appear to be additional capital ships. The human vessel is manufacturing them in real time." Vextol's crystalline form paled to an almost translucent white as the implications hit him. The vessel wasn't just a carrier, it was a mobile shipyard. And if this was just one of their ships, "Open all frequencies," he commanded, his voice barely a whisper. "Priority override. Channel open, sir." Captain Chen of the Prometheus. "This is Supreme Commander Vextol. I apologize for our hostile action. On behalf of the Meridian Alliance, I formally request diplomatic contact. Please Please accept our sincere regret for this unfortunate first impression." There was a pause before Captain Chen responded, her voice warming slightly. "Apology accepted, Commander. Shall we begin discussions about humanity joining your alliance?" Vextel's form shifted through several colors before settling on a deep green of resignation. "Captain, I believe you misunderstand. After what we've witnessed, I suspect it will be the Meridian Alliance requesting to join you." The scale of things. Intelligence operative Zarevek had infiltrated numerous alien vessels in her career with Meridian Special Operations. She gathered secrets from the bioships of the Hive Collective, survived deep cover in the quantum drives of the Machine Conclave, and even managed to extract data from the legendary ghost ships of the Nebula Nomads. But nothing had prepared her for the U.S. Prometheus. From her hiding spot in cargo hold F-379, just one of thousands of similar chambers, she watched in awe as robotic systems efficiently managed the movement of materials she couldn't even identify. The scale was incomprehensible. This single cargo hold could have housed her entire infiltration vessel with room to spare. Her neural recorder was working overtime, documenting everything. The Meridian Alliance needed to understand what they were dealing with. After Commander Vextel's disastrous first contact 3 months ago, the Alliance had shifted to more subtle methods of gathering intelligence about humanity. A deep rumble resonated through the hull. Zarevek felt it in her crystalline core. The massive engines were powering up again. She'd learned to recognize the different vibrations of the vessel. This one meant they were preparing for another jump. The humans called it slipped space travel. Their casual manipulation of dimensional physics made Meridian FTL technology look primitive in comparison. But it wasn't just their technology that fascinated her. It was their approach to space travel itself. The Prometheus wasn't just a warship or a carrier or even a mobile shipyard. It was a self-contained civilization. During her weeks of infiltration, she discovered hydroponics bays that could feed millions, manufacturing centers that could produce anything from quantum processors to colony ships, and research facilities that rivaled the finest academic institutions in the Alliance. Her thoughts were interrupted by voices approaching. She quickly shifted her crystalline form to match the metallic sheen of the nearby containers, a natural camouflage ability that had served her well. "Telling you, Sarah, the Meridians are hiding something." The voice belonged to Admiral James Chen, father of the Prometheus's captain. "Their diplomatic overtures are too eager, too accommodating. They're afraid of us, Dad." Captain Sarah Chen's voice was tired but firm. "You saw their reaction when we deployed the auxiliary battleships. They thought we were going to conquer them on the spot. And that's exactly my point. A civilization as advanced as theirs doesn't just roll over because of one impressive ship. They're playing for time." Zarevek felt her crystalline matrix vibrate with tension. The Admiral was more perceptive than Alliance intelligence had realized. "Maybe," Sarah conceded, "but that's why we're proceeding carefully. The Prometheus battle group is just one of humanity's assets. We have 19 other supercarriers deployed across known space, each commanding their own fleets. If the Meridians try anything..." Zarevek nearly lost her camouflage in shock. 20 supercarriers, each with the capability to produce and command entire fleets. The intelligence estimates had suggested 3, maybe 4 such vessels at most. "It's not just about military strength," the Admiral continued. "Did you see the latest reports from the xenoanthropology team? The Meridians' entire society is built on carefully maintained technological superiority over their member species. If word gets out about how far ahead of them we are, their alliance could fracture." Sarah finished. "I know. That's why we're being diplomatic. We don't want to destroy their civilization. We want to help them advance." The voices faded as they moved past her hiding spot, but Zarevek barely noticed. Her mind was racing with the implications of what she'd heard. The Alliance's entire strategy was based on false assumptions. They weren't dealing with a powerful but isolated human system. They were dealing with an interstellar civilization that had somehow developed in complete isolation, advancing far beyond the Alliance's capabilities. She needed to transmit this information immediately. The Alliance had to know. A soft chime echoed through the cargo hold. Security breach detected in hold F-379. Crystalline-based life form identified. Initiating containment protocols. Zarevek realized too late that her shock had caused her camouflage to slip for just a fraction of a second. The human sensors were far more sophisticated than she'd believed. As energy fields sprang up around her, she had one last thought. The Alliance wasn't ready for humanity. Not even close. The Battle of Arcturus. Admiral Lai Wei of the Meridian Alliance Defense Fleet had committed every cardinal sin in the military handbook. He'd underestimated his opponent. He'd acted on incomplete intelligence. And most damningly, he'd assumed human technology would behave according to known physical limitations. Now, as he watched the tactical display from his flagship's command center, he was paying the price. Status report. He barked, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red frequencies. 3 more battle groups have emerged from slip space. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, voice trembling. The Prometheus is coordinating their movements. They're hurting us. Lai Wei watched as human vessels appeared seemingly at random across the battlefield, each emergence precisely calculated to cut off another avenue of retreat. His fleet of 400 capital ships, the largest the Alliance had ever assembled, was being systematically contained by less than 50 human vessels. But it was how they were doing it that terrified him. The humans weren't relying on traditional FTL tactics. Their ships would drop out of slip space, fire their weapons, and jump again before Alliance targeting systems could even lock on. Each shot was devastatingly precise, targeting engines and weapons with surgical accuracy. They weren't trying to destroy his fleet. They were systematically disabling it. Sir, new contact. The sensor officer's voice cracked. It's massive. The tactical display shifted to show a new vessel emerging from slip space. Unlike the precise, coordinated jumps of the other human ships, this one tore into normal space like an angry god. Reality itself seemed to buckle around it. Classification. Lai Wei demanded. Sir, it's another supercarrier, but different from the Prometheus. The energy readings are off the scale. The new vessel's identification broadcast reached them moments later. U.S. Hyperion, Titan-class supercarrier. Admiral Lai Wei, this is Fleet Admiral Helena Martinez. Your fleet is contained. Your ships are disabled. You have no line of retreat. You will power down your remaining weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will be forced to demonstrate the Hyperion's primary weapon system. Lai Wei's tactical officer spoke up hesitantly. Sir, the Hyperion is deploying. Something. Energy readings suggest. Sir, they're creating a localized singularity. Impossible, Lai Wei whispered. The power requirements alone mold. Sir, the singularity is. It's stable. They're containing it somehow. Energy levels continuing to rise. Lai Wei stared at the tactical display in horror as he realized what he was seeing. The humans hadn't just mastered gravity manipulation. They'd weaponized it. The Hyperion wasn't threatening to destroy his fleet. It was threatening to tear apart the very fabric of space-time around them. Open a channel, he ordered, his crystalline form dulling to a defeated gray. To all ships. Power down weapons and prepare for boarding. Authentication code. Lai Wei 09 terminal. As his orders were relayed and his mighty fleet went dark, Lai Wei noticed something that chilled him even more than the defeat. The human vessels weren't celebrating their victory. There were no taunts, no triumphant broadcasts. They were treating this like a training exercise. This wasn't their full capability. This was them being gentle. Sir, his communications officer spoke up. We're receiving a transmission from the Prometheus. Captain Chen is requesting to speak with you privately. Put her through. Sarah Chen's voice was surprisingly sympathetic. Admiral Lai Wei, I want to assure you that your crews will be treated with all due respect as temporary detainees. We have no desire to harm them or you. Why? Lai Wei found himself asking. Why show such restraint when you could have destroyed us utterly? There was a pause before Chen responded. Because, Admiral, humanity has seen enough war in our history to know that true victory isn't about destruction. It's about understanding. Your fleet's data cores contain detailed information about every member species of the Meridian Alliance, species that might need help, that might be suffering under technological restrictions. We intend to help them all advance. Lai Wei's form shifted through several colors as the implications hit him. You're not just defeating us militarily. We're rewriting the fundamental power structure of your entire alliance, Chen confirmed. But we're giving you a chance to be part of that change. The question is, Admiral, are you willing to help us make the galaxy a better place for everyone, not just the Meridian elite? As Lai Wei looked at the Hyperion's contained singularity on his tactical display, a casual demonstration of physics manipulation that his scientists had deemed impossible, he realized he was witnessing more than a military defeat. He was watching the future being rewritten. Inside the beast, Ambassador Tilera found herself constantly fighting the urge to flare her crystalline matrix in amazement as she walked through the Prometheus's central promenade. After the Battle of Arcturus, she had been chosen as the Meridian Alliance's official diplomatic representative to the human fleet. She had expected to find a strictly military vessel. Instead, she found herself in what could only be described as a city in space. The promenade extends for 12 kilometers through the center of the ship. Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez explained as she guided Tilera. It serves as our main civilian hub. We have everything from research facilities to entertainment venues. Tilera watched as humans and robots moved purposefully through the vast space. Above them, transport pods zipped along magnetic rails, while holographic displays showed ship status updates and news from across human space. Children played in designated recreation areas while their parents watched from nearby cafes. Your species lives on these vessels? Tilera asked, struggling to comprehend the scale. Not just military personnel. Maya smiled. The Prometheus carries a total population of about 3 million. Only about 20% are military. We have scientists, engineers, artists, teachers, entire families who call this ship home. They passed a massive window that looked out into one of the carrier's construction bays. Tilera watched in fascination as automated systems assembled what appeared to be a small corvette. How many ships can the Prometheus construct simultaneously? At full capacity, about 50 capital ships per month, plus support vessels. But that's just using standard manufacturing modules. If we reconfigure for emergency production, Maya trailed off, seeming to realize she might be saying too much. Tilera's matrix flickered with understanding. That's why your ships seemed to appear out of nowhere during the battle. You weren't calling them from elsewhere. You were building them on the spot. Among other things, Maya acknowledged. But the manufacturing capabilities aren't what make our supercarrier special. Follow me. There's something I think you should see. They took a transport pod to what Maya called the heart of the ship. As they emerged, Tilera found herself in a vast spherical chamber. In the center, contained within multiple layers of energy fields, was what appeared to be a small star. This is our primary power core, Maya explained. We call it a stellar tap. It's essentially a contained stellar fragment that we can draw energy from as needed. The Prometheus carries 3 of these. Tilera's matrix nearly destabilized from shock. You found a way to harness stellar matter itself. It's actually based on technology we developed for our colony ship centuries ago, Maya said casually. We needed a way to power long-term settlement operations without relying on conventional fuel sources. The stellar tap was the solution. They spent the next few hours touring more of the vessel. Tilera saw vast hydroponics bays that could feed millions, medical facilities that could regrow entire limbs, and educational centers where children learned alongside AI tutors. But it was a visit to the civilian research sector that finally broke her diplomatic composure. Are you studying dimensional physics? She asked, staring at a holographic display showing what appeared to be multiple overlapping realities. Dr. James Chen, the Admiral's younger brother and the Prometheus's chief scientist, looked up from his work. "Ah, Ambassador Tilera. Yes, this is part of our ongoing research into slit space optimization. We're working on ways to make our drives more efficient." Tilera stared at equations that made her advanced degree in theoretical physics seem elementary by comparison. The Alliance has been studying dimensional physics for centuries. We've barely scratched the surface of the theoretical framework, let alone practical applications. That's because you're working from an incomplete understanding of quantum mechanics, Dr. Chen said kindly. Your scientists are brilliant, but they're building on limited foundations. We'd be happy to share our basic research, help get everyone up to speed. Basic research. Tilera's matrix pulsed with disbelief. You consider dimensional manipulation basic? Relatively speaking, Dr. Chen smiled. Wait until you see what we're doing with temporal mechanics in Lab 7. As Tilera followed them deeper into the research sector, she finally understood why the Alliance's military defeat had been inevitable. The Prometheus wasn't just a warship or a city or even a mobile shipyard. It was the physical embodiment of humanity's approach to the universe, an endless drive to understand, to create, to improve, and to share that knowledge with others. The Meridian Alliance had spent millennia maintaining careful control over technological advancement, seeing it as a means of maintaining power. Humanity saw technology as a tool for uplifting everyone. And they had built their supercarriers not just as weapons of war, but as seeds of civilization, ready to spread that philosophy across the galaxy. Paradigm shift. High Counselor Vaxtrin of the Meridian Alliance stood before the assembled representatives of over 300 species, his crystalline form cycling through colors of anxiety and determination. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Arcturus, and the galaxy had changed more in that time than in the previous millennium. The motion before the Council today, he announced, his voice resonating through the Grand Chamber, is to formally dissolve the traditional hierarchy of the Meridian Alliance and establish the new Galactic Cooperative of Species, with humanity as equal partners in leadership. The chamber erupted in a kaleidoscope of colors as hundreds of crystalline beings shifted through emotional spectrums. On the observation deck, Captain Sarah Chen watched alongside Ambassador Tilera. Your people are taking this better than we expected, Sarah noted. Tilera's matrix pulsed with what Sarah had learned to recognize as wry amusement. After the Prometheus began sharing its basic technological database with our member species, this became inevitable. Do you know what happened when the Zorkath were given access to your terraforming principles? I heard they restored 3 of their dead worlds in under a month. Indeed, the Hive Collective's bioengineers nearly destabilized when they saw your genetic libraries. The Machine Conclave's AIs spent 3 days in contemplative shutdown after examining your quantum computing theorems. You've upended 10,000 years of carefully managed technological advancement in less than a year. Below them, Vaxtrin was reading the terms of the new cooperative. The Prometheus and her sister ships would serve as mobile centers of learning and advancement, offering their resources and knowledge to any species that wished to join. The old restrictions on technological development would be replaced with safety guidelines and ethical frameworks developed jointly by human and alien scientists. There's something I've been meaning to ask, Tilera said. Why did humanity develop in such isolation? The Alliance monitored most of the galaxy's developing civilizations, yet somehow we missed you entirely. Sarah smiled. We weren't isolated by chance. Early in our development, we detected your observation posts near our system. We also detected the quantum suppression fields you use to prevent unauthorized technological advancement in developing species. Tilera's matrix flickered with shock. That's impossible. Those fields were undetectable. To species operating within expected technological parameters, yes. But humanity has a peculiar trait. The more you tell us something is impossible, the harder we work to prove otherwise. When we realized someone was trying to control our development, We developed ways to hide our progress. We built our civilization in the shadows of your suppression fields, turning your own technology against you. And then you built the supercarriers, T-Lara realized. We built them to be exactly what your alliance wasn't: platforms for unrestricted advancement, growth, and cooperation. Each carrier is a testament to what's possible when you stop fearing progress and start embracing it. The chamber below had grown quiet as Vax Trin reached the final article of the new charter. And finally, by unanimous decision of the High Council, the Meridian Alliance formally acknowledges that our previous approach to galactic civilization was fundamentally flawed. We sought stability through control, achieving only stagnation. Humanity has shown us a better way: progress through cooperation, strength through diversity, and advancement through shared knowledge. As the Council erupted in a dazzling display of approval, with crystalline beings shifting through spectrums of hope and excitement, Sarah's communicator chimed. The Hyperion had detected unusual energy signatures at the galaxy's edge, possible signs of another advanced civilization developing beyond the Alliance's sphere of influence. "Well," Sarah said, checking the coordinates, "shall we go introduce ourselves to the neighbors? I believe the Prometheus is due for a diplomatic mission." T-Lara's matrix shifted to a deep blue of contentment. "As humanity's first official ally in the Galactic Cooperative, I believe I should accompany you. After all, they should understand that the galaxy is entering a new age, one where the only limits on advancement are the ones we place on ourselves." As they headed to the Prometheus's teleport hub, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had emerged from hiding not to conquer or control, but to lift others up. The supercarriers, originally built as defenders of human independence, had become bridges between civilizations. The galaxy was awakening, and humanity would be there to help it reach for the stars, one impossible achievement at a time.